Hi everyone, good afternoon. I'm Emily Rose Sabin and thank you for tuning in. So today I have one of my, should I say, very special guests, and I'll have Miss Anne introduce herself. So kids, here we go. So Miss Anne is really, before I let her introduce herself, like I said, she's actually one of my favorite moms. And even from it, she doesn't know, like Kim as well, but I really admire her and I've worked with her for a while now. So before we, before I keep on going, so Miss Anne, can you introduce yourself?
I'd be happy to. My name's Ann Kilkenny, and Emily and I have worked together for almost 13 years. And I work with her here at the library, and I am a mom. My kids are all grown up now, but once you're a parent, you're always a parent. So I'm really lucky that I still get to see them a lot. And I love my work here at the library. I'm a teacher by background, and I teach young children. So infants, toddlers, preschoolers, kindergartners, they're my favorite little people. And so I was really lucky to be able to come here to the library and be able to continue to work with children and families and meet great people like Emily and share my love of books and my love of education in a great place like the library.
Well, so actually, like, I'm really nervous, even though I've done this a lot, just like I said before we started, because Miss Anne is one of the women or moms that I really admire, just because, like, when she introduced herself, you know the reason why, and it's not easy being a mom of two as well and doing all this work. And she's really good with kids, and also she's very nice inside and out and very down to earth. That's why I love her. And so now, Miss Anne, here are my hard questions.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
So let's go back, like back to the future. Is it that that's the term? Should I say?
Yeah.
Do you, as far as you remember, so we're gonna go long time ago. Like,
Hey, not that long, not that long.
Yeah. So, what do you call this one? Do you love to read?
I've always loved to read. I can remember as a teenager being on vacation, and I'd pack a little suitcase and a big bag of books to take with me. I've always loved to read wherever I can read, whatever. And even now I read, because we have all these great electronic devices, so I can read while I'm waiting in the car for an appointment or while I'm on the bus coming to work. And but I've always got, I don't know, what do I have on my nightstand now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different books. They're all lined up, ready to go. Sometimes I don't get as much time to read. And, I'm sure that those of you who are listening who are parents, you understand it's carving out that time for yourself and for things that you love to do. But I think balance is really important, and one of the things I like to carve out time for is reading.
So, Miss Anne, as far as you can remember, how old were you when you started reading?
So I am the daughter of a teacher. So I went to what we call here in the United States nursery school. And not everyone back in the 1960s, which is what we're talking about, went to nursery school when they were 4 years old. But then I went on to kindergarten when I was 5. And I can remember in kindergarten, the very first book I remember reading was called Caps for Sale. And it's still around. It's a classic. I think it might have won an award, the Caldecott Award. But it's all about a fellow who sells hats, and he carries them around on his head. And I can remember that's the very first book I learned how to read, and I was 5. I was in kindergarten.
So, did your parents read to you, or you just learned to read by yourself? Like,
It was very much a team effort. My parents read to me all the time. We would take trips to the library. We were fortunate to have a library in the town where we lived. And my dad, especially, I remember there was a special book he read, the Book of Animals, I think it was called, by Thornton Burgess, and each chapter was about a different animal, and they had names and were characters in the forest, and that was a book that he would read a chapter every night to me, and I actually still have that book on my bookcase in my bedroom.
oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good thing, like to have like the book that you like when you were little, and you still have it. But is that the book that you always wanted, or was there a specific book that you wanted to read, like on your own?
I have read so many books that I can think of that I've just enjoyed reading on my own. When I was younger, rather than I know one of the questions she's going to ask me is about a superhero or
Yeah.
a princess that I like. And I was thinking about that question, and I was in love with horses. That's what, I didn't have superheroes or princesses. It was all about horses for me. And so I read a lot of books about horses and stories about horses, and nonfiction books informational books about horses. So I read that a lot, and those were the ones I liked to read the best.
Yeah, I think with the horses, there's one I know. I think has to do with a movie. I believe Black
Beauty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know if that is even a book.
It is a
but
book.
Yeah, it is.
There's a
book
whole
then.
series of them, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's a good one. So
It is.
and then now, Miss Anne, do you have anything like? Do you have a motto or a code that you kind of live by, or when you as you were growing up, you know how sometimes you tell yourself this and that you it kind of motivates you. Do you have anything?
Well, I have to say that one of the things that it took me a while. I was headed off to college when I really came up with a motto that I really try to live by is because I was actually a very anxious child. I was shy, and so I didn't often try new things. But going off to college on your own, you kind of don't have a choice. You have to try lots of new things. And that really helped me to learn that it's okay to try something new, because the worst thing that's going to happen is you learn something along the way and you're not any worse off than you were before. So it's okay to try new things. And really what ends up happening is your world expands, the people that you know expand, and what you are able to learn and enjoy, and that all expands too. So don't be afraid to take a little risk. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to try something new, because it might turn out to be something that you really, really care about.
Yeah. So kids, see, did you hear that one? That's a very, very good advice, so take note on those, okay? And then now, Miss Anne, one thing I wanted to ask, when you were little, I mean, now you're an educator more or less at the same time, and you've been a teacher, and it's really like you have done really a big, it's so broad, should I say, that everything like incorporates to it, that it has to do with teaching and learning, and I know everything combined really. So one thing I wanted to ask is, did you ever picture yourself, like, how when you were little you would say, I want to be this, I want to be that, but did you ever picture yourself that you'll be a teacher or somewhere what you're doing now, that you'll be like this?
My mom said that I used to say that I wanted to be a mom.
And you're a mom.
And I am a mom. And it's the best job in the world. I always knew I wanted to work with other people, work with people. And that eventually got to the point where I knew I wanted to work with children. So I have to say that I'm doing now what I've always wanted to do. I did a couple of other things between then and now, but that just expanded what I know and made me better at what I do now. So sometimes you have to take some steps to the side to get to your ultimate goal. I talk to my kids about getting from point A to point B in order to get to point C, right? Sometimes you have to take a little turn in the road in order, but it usually is a good thing. You learn some things, and then you get where you want to go eventually.
Yeah, that's a very wise advice. I mean, there's wisdom right there. And then here's another thing. I know the answer of this one, but I just
You
really
do,
wanted
do
to
you?
ask.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know everything,
Oh, boy.
but this is a very easy question because I know you're a reader. So my thing, I know that there are people who loves to read, but then they don't advise anyone to read. But with you, with your kids, do you read to them, or do you guys have a group time, like you guys read together, or till this day? Like,
Yes.
you know?
I started reading to my children when they were born every night, and I can tell you that every night until he was probably 5 or 6 or 7, my son Eric, who's now 29, I read Goodnight Moon. That was the last story I would
One of
read
my
to him.
favorites.
I know. And then Megan, who's now 22, same thing every night. And the last story she would get was a story called Pajama Time by Sandra Boynton, a fun, bouncy little going to bed story, which fits Megan's personality.
Yeah.
But you know, I read the Harry Potter books out loud to them, you know, when they were still at home, and reading was something we did a lot.
Yeah, Megan, I met Megan. I know her. She's a very sweet, gorgeous young girl. Gets her beauty from the mom, looks after the mom. And then, I mean, she really is good. I mean, does she loves to read as well, like
She
you?
does.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's
she
really
does.
good.
They both do.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah.
And so now, kids, I would still love to interview Miss Ann, but we don't have all day. And the only thing I can say, Miss Ann, thank you so much for the privilege of your time. But before I have to let you go, do you have any word of encouragement or advice to the kids that are listening to us right now?
Well, I would say, first of all, keep your dreams alive, right? Don't ever give up. Just because you have to go from point A to point B doesn't mean you're not going to get to point C. If you're feeling anxious or nervous or overwhelmed, first thing you do, breathe. And then find somebody you can talk to about it. Find a trusted grown-up, find your best friend. But don't give up, because it's out there. Sometimes you have to wait a little while, but you'll just keep trying and you'll get there.
So, Miss Ann, thank you so much. And kids, I learned a lot today myself, and learning doesn't stop. That's why I love about this thing, interviewing my colleagues, because I'm learning so much and I'm enjoying it. So again, Miss Ann, thank you so much for the privilege of your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
And then kids, this is not the last of Miss Ann, so I want you to send in your questions and we'll have her again. And I know some of you out there are like, ooh, I love her, I like her, you know, so we'll have her guest again and then she'll answer your questions. So for now, we just wanted to say good night, goodbye, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.